Okay, at this time here, I'd like to call the Coventry zoning board of review to hearing, and this time here, I'd like to have the roll call read, please.
Bob Crow,
Here.
Denise DeGrade. Here. Jean Costello. Here. Irene Drew. Here. John D'Onofrio.
Here.
Russ Lockley.
Here.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have a full board sitting with a total of 6 members. I'd also like to point out that the fire exits are to your rear, the exits to my rear taking into the building. Okay, also, I'd like to have an approval of the January 3rd, 2018 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
How
Okay,
about the December meeting?
You want to do it both December too?
December, did everybody get a chance to read over December
Yes,
too?
yeah.
Okay, let's do December at the same time. That would be the meeting of December 2017. All right, the minutes of that meeting. Do I have a motion to approve both?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Okay, motion made second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, this time here, underneath the old business, we have the applicant Mark Andre. Location of private assessors, plot map 97, lot 19, 2 Astor Lane. Zone R20, existing use, single family residence. Proposed use the same. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to construct a 55 by 26 addition. Okay, at this time here, that application was approved last month with stipulations. Do I have a motion to ratify?
Motion to ratify.
Okay, motion made, do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
Made second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, also last month, you had the petition of Anthony S. Petracca. Owner same, location of private assessors, plot map 29. Lots 23, 24, the address is 891 and 895 Tyoke Avenue. Zone general business, existing use is commercial mixed use. Proposed use same. Applicant is seeking a dimensional variance to merge lots 23 and 24 to reduce the required 30-foot rear setback to 10 and to increase the maximum lot coverage to exceed the required maximum lot coverage of 60% to 84%. All right, that was reviewed and voted on last month and approved. Do I have a motion to ratify that decision?
Motion to ratify.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, under new business, I understand we have one that's not coming up tonight,
Correct.
and which one is that?
Tika Bellis.
Okay, so that's being asked to be proposed to the first Wednesday in April, correct?
March,
In March, I'm sorry.
correct.
So we only have one applicant in front of us tonight? Is the applicant here?
Do we have to vote on it, moving the meeting? Just ask.
I believe you do. I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
need to
okay.
take a motion and
At this time
vote
here,
to continue
the
it.
applicant has wished us to continue this to the first Wednesday in March.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we continue this to the
Okay, I
first
have a
Wednesday
motion
in
on the
March.
floor, do I have a second on it?
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it, and that will be held on the first Wednesday in March. Okay, the next application is the applicant here. And that is, what do we do on this one? Hold this one over?
Yeah, sick.
Yes.
Yes.
No, here.
This is a very easy one. This is nothing,
No,
this is that lot line, it just looks like somebody, I mean, I think it's very nice that the two neighbors get along in the solving this problem. This could be a big problem.
I would agree. This is another one of those cases where normally it would be a straight administrative.
Right, I agree
Subdivision.
with you almost doing it, this has gone in front of planning, and they approved it.
Correct. You know, the only reason this is here is because that the lots are non-conforming and we can't administratively approve decreasing the size of a non-conforming lot. But as I mentioned in the staff report, it isn't a huge change. The lots will essentially become equal in area, and it will improve more problems than it will cause.
Right.
Can we hear this tonight without any?
I don't think that's legal, is it? You hear it?
So I don't,
They put their application forward, and they've submitted their materials, so you do have enough evidence to grant it.
I would think so.
You don't
I mean, I really don't have
necessarily-
I just recommend the neighbors on both getting along and spending the money on the survey.
What's your recommendation, bro?
My recommendation would be to approve this. This is,
Right,
this is here to dot i's and cross t's. I would have approved this administratively.
Okay, let me have the secretary read the whole application for the record, please.
The applicant is Leonard Piazzik. The owner is Leonard and Jean Piazzik and Agnes and Walter Yaley Jr. Location of property is AP 29 lots, 67 and 68, 27 York Drive. Zone is R20. Existing use is single-family residence. Proposed use is same. Applicants are seeking a dimensional variance and a special use permit to transfer a portion of lot 67 that is triangular in shape in 145.52 feet long on its longest side to lot 68.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I think you should just formally waive the appearance of the applicant at the hearing.
So moved.
Okay, we will ask first if the applicant is here. Is the applicant, or actually both parties, there's actually two applicants here.
Do we know why they're not here? Did they call?
No, we weren't contacted.
Did they notify the neighbors? The abutters, were they notified?
Yeah, we have that.
We have the list, but were they?
Does the butters, I did have a question on
Did we
that.
get a butters,
The list of the date.
return receipts on the butters back?
I'm not sure. Sam usually brings them usually right around an hour to the meetings.
I think it's probably not a good idea to vote on this tonight. We don't have enough.
Because that would be a problem.
Yeah.
We don't have evidence that.
I can tell you that,
Because it doesn't have, it has the actual date as January 2018
For
by the property owner. So the notice actually has an incorrect date on it.
Yeah,
We
no cards. Yeah, we can't do it without
I
evidence of the
agree.
abutters.
I'll make a motion to continue this next month.
second, do I have to retract my motion first?
Yes.
Okay.
I also want the notice of public hearing is dated January 2018. I want to make sure that's sent out and correctly dated for what date the meeting's going to be for. It says it's going to be held on,
It doesn't say, it says
Doesn't say when it's gonna be
2018 at
held.
7 p.m.
exactly,
Maybe there's confusion on the part of the applicant as well, that's why they're not here.
right.
Well, he submitted and appeared before planning, which was last week. So,
But the notice doesn't have a date.
But
for
the notice
meeting.
doesn't have a date on
It
it.
just says blank 2018 at
That's
7
right.
p.m. So if the notice was mailed out, people
The
don't know
notice
when
is
the meeting
incorrect.
is.
Agreed.
The notice is incorrect, that was my other question.
so are we doing a motion to continue?
So upon correct notice of notice and the applicant being here, do I have a motion to continue this the next month?
John
I
Regan.
made that motion.
Okay,
Second it.
John made it, you seconded it, Russ?
Mhm.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. All right, that one will be continued to the next month.
Is Brian gonna notify them?
Yeah,
The
actually,
notice?
I'll call Sam tomorrow and see what the story is.
Well, it has to be re-noticed, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and I think you've got a notice problem too on the other one.
DQ Dallas?
Yes, we did. It's right here tonight.
Yeah, it's not here tonight, but I looked at the notice quickly.
Yeah, but she just gave it to us here.
Yeah, but the use of the property for healthcare, and on the application, there's no date. Unless I'm missing it. Yeah, data notice, hearing notice, 51 Hopkins Hill Road. When was it, and when was it sent out? Okay, the hearing was supposed to be Wednesday, it says February 7th. But what was the date of the notice? And the hearing is down below, it should be up on top too.
Well, all of that information would be on the cards, the certified mail cards anyway.
No, they don't. No, the certified mail card, you just put down who's
What?
going to and who's come back.
The
You don't put
receipts.
down date of notice.
Are there receipts in there? He did send them out ahead of time because Brian and I got several, actually specifically Brian got several calls
Right,
on
but
it.
this is the sample we sent out, it's incorrect. And that's what we're supposed to have, the sample.
It's an incomplete notice because you're talking about the two at the top, Bob, notice and hearing date. That's not filled in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I
the
agree.
notice on that one's incorrect too. I'm just trying to solve the both of them at the same time.
It's possible he filled that out by hand when they actually went out, but we'll talk to the applicant and make sure it's straightened out.
And do we have the registered mail receipts?
No, normally they would bring those with them to the meetings. They're not here, so no, we don't have the grade cards.
Okay. All right, so I'm bolted out. Okay, so now we will adjourn the Coventry zoning board of review, unless there's any other questions from the board or anybody else, and we will now at this time here open up the Coventry zoning board of appeals. And I'll have the secretary read into the record the appeal that we're hearing tonight.
It's in regards to notice of violation dated 8/18/17, Sandra J. Levesque, Alfred J. Levesque, at 1204 Town Farm Road, AP 323, Lot 106.
Okay, at this time here, do we have, I believe Mr. Tobin is representing the applicant, the appellant, right?
Before Mr. Tubin proceeds, just some housekeeping issues that I noted going through the transcript. At the last proceeding, exhibits H and I for the town were admitted for identification only. I'd like to move those in as full exhibits. Exhibit H was the animal control officer's report, and Exhibit I was the certified documents from DEM.
Okay, does the board have any questions on this? Okay, yeah, I don't see why not on this. For the record, please give your full name and address, Mr. Tobin, for the record.
My name is Frederick Tobin. I'm an attorney in Coventry, office located at 1035 Main Street. I'm here representing Mr. and Mrs. Levesque this evening.
Okay, you're going to give testimony, sir?
No, I don't intend to. If I need to, I'll notify you and I'll be sworn in at that point.
Okay.
But with regard to Exhibit H and I, Exhibit H is an incident report. The animal control officer is here to testify on it. The report itself should not be considered as evidence. She can testify as to what she did at that particular time. And since she's going to be here, I submit that it's inappropriate to mark that as a full exhibit. With respect to the DEM incident report, some of that report is not complete. There is nobody from DEM to be here. They chose to do it by certification only. To tell you which ones are not complete, Exhibit I contains charges, 4 charges, well, they contain 3 charges that they said Mrs. LeVay appeared in district court on last year. In effect, there were 4 charges, one of which, not all, but one of which there was a plea on. The other 3 were not. And I would then submit that that certification is not complete. There's a 4th charge. I'll present evidence of the 4th charge tonight, and I'll indicate which of those 4 charges there was a plea on. The other 3 were dismissed by the district court. You should not be taking those items into account this evening as convictions, since they weren't convictions. And that's the problem you have when you try to present incident reports instead of conviction records. So I object to those 2.
All right, so you're saying, and we have minutes of the meeting, Mr. Tobin, where, you objected at it in regards to Exhibit D. There is no evidence that the town ever brought any charges with respect to it. There is no grounds that there has ever been any conviction of that, and as such, it is an allegation, and as an allegation that this board should not be reading. It has never been proven. Okay, now, is that what you're saying?
There were a number of incident reports that there's an attempt to present as evidence, several of which were never, no convictions were ever obtained, some of which no charges were ever brought. And yet they're asking you to take into account those incidents, which I think is inappropriate. It's like as I indicated the last time, when you have a person who might be charged with a criminal offense, and the offense is dismissed, you can't take that into account in any manner whatsoever.
So you're saying the charges by the state were dismissed?
3 of the 4 charges were dismissed.
Doesn't that go to a pattern of
Yeah.
behavior type of thing, this?
I'm lost.
Well, I would say exactly that. This goes to mode of operation sort of things. The district court criminal complaint shows and if Mr. Tobin would like to have a copy of the final document issued by the criminal complaint for matters of completeness, I have a copy of that. I'll be more than glad to submit that as evidence as well. However, all of the documents that were provided by DEM were provided as certified documents, as allowed by law under Rhode Island General Laws 917-5.1. While this does speak to documents requested by subpoena, we don't have subpoena authority within this body. I called DEM, I made the request to provide documents under this statute. They agreed, they provided a certified set of documents. The point of these documents are largely to corroborate the testimony of Officer Lacombe that you heard last time. Insofar as the charges that the state brought, I really don't care. I don't have any authority to enforce those charges. But what this does do is substantiate the fact that state officers responded to this residence. They found 10 animals. They removed 10 animals. They turned those animals over to the custody of Coventry Animal Control. And that's the point of these documents. Insofar as the state charges go, this board can ignore those. They're irrelevant here to demonstrating that a kennel operation was going on in this property without a special use permit and without a kennel license.
Mr. Mr. Tobin, is the basis of your objection hearsay? Are you saying that these can't come in based upon hearsay?
No. First of all, I intend to demonstrate the lack of that the charges that were submitted by DEM with respect to this matter, they've indicated 3 charges.
Why are you
one of the
objecting
documents.
to them? Are you objecting to
It's
them?
my objection that it's not a complete document, and therefore it shouldn't be received. The completeness, the document had 4 charges. I have a copy of it. I represented her in the district court, so I'm fully aware of what went on there. 3 of those charges were in fact dismissed. The document you're looking at in this package shows 2 of the 3 charges as being dismissed, but it's still not a complete document.
What were the grounds for dismissal?
I'm sorry?
What were the grounds for dismissal?
There was a plea agreement.
But were they saying there were no dogs on the property? Is that why they dismissed it?
No,
But that's what we had
there was a
discussed.
plea agreement.
We're here to discuss if there were dogs on the property illegally. That's what we're here to discuss, not the charges.
I also, Fred, I don't think the document you're referring to is part of Exhibit I. That was marked as Exhibit J, which I never offered into evidence.
Brian, can I ask, or Jane, the relevance of the district court hearing here tonight? I mean,
The district court proceedings, so far as I'm concerned, are irrelevant to the town's issues, the town's zoning issues.
okay,
here.
it's a separate,
It is the overlapping facts. We have a state proceeding and a town proceeding that have arose from the same set of facts.
okay.
So the reports of the DEM officers are submitted for a factual basis to corroborate the testimony that you heard last time from Officer Lacombe, because she was asked to stay out of the premises in order to keep everything at a reduced volume, so to speak, at the premises. And the DEM officers went in,
Okay.
saw what was there, took custody of the animals, and turned them over to Officer Lacombe, just as she said. So this fills in the gap between where Officer Lacombe discovered what was going on at the property and the time that she received the animals from DEM.
And she was asked not to be on the property, my recollection is, by the homeowner.
Correct. The homeowner told DEM that if she stayed off of the property, that she would cooperate with DEM.
Okay.
Does our attorney have any issues?
Well, somewhere in here, and I can't find the page now, they claim no, doesn't that mean?
Yeah, that means that she pled
No.
no contest.
No contest.
Yeah, so
It's neither a admission of.
I understand, it's not a.
I looked at it, I said guilt without,
Well, they say I'm not contesting the charges and I'm not admitting that they're true. And it's a plea agreement, so it is not a conviction. So,
Nor are the dismissals necessarily a representation that they didn't have a case. It was a
Right.
plea bargain.
right,
They
Okay,
proceeded on one, they got a plea on it, they let the other ones go.
right. Most cases that go to district court end up in a plea agreement. Very few of them actually go to trial. So, can you figure out which exhibit we're talking about? Are we talking about J or I that you think is incomplete?
Does it really matter?
I think it does matter.
Well, my point is, they applied for a special use permit for a dog kennel. It was rejected,
Right.
okay? No special use permit, no dog kennel, no more than 3 dogs without a kennel license, okay? They didn't have a license. They were found in possession of 10 dogs that were being offered up for sale. They're in violation of what we said they couldn't do.
Well, that's
What's
the
what's the appeal about?
The problem is that we need facts to base, they're saying we're appealing that. And we say, okay, town, show us the facts that they actually had these dogs. And you have to, and I think the standard's clear and convincing evidence. Is that the standard or is
It's
it
preponderance of the evidence.
preponderance of the evidence? We have to find out that it's more likely than not that they had these dogs in their possession than they weren't supposed to.
So DEM took possession of the 10 dogs that were there
Well,
and gave them
you have
to,
to have facts before you that show that DEM was there, took possession, and, that's the burden of the town to show you.
okay,
By more likely than not that happened. So they're offering as an exhibit that DEM reports, that's what they're saying, the DEM reports show, that happened. And then you have the testimony of the dog officer that was at the scene. She testified that she was there, they took crates out of the house. I mean, if you find that that's enough evidence, fine. Brian is saying, look, I've got even more evidence that I want to get in, so there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever.
I'd like to interject one thing. The standard is not preponderance of the evidence. The standard is clear and convincing evidence. And
Do you have?
just so that the board's aware, there are 3 different types of standards in
Well-
proceedings.
Well, 1 second. How do you know it's clear and convincing evidence?
On
How do
the
you know-
appeal,
Yeah. Where does it say that?
it doesn't say it in the statute, in the ordinance, but by case law,
Do you have a case?
I don't have it with me, no.
Because Brian is contending it's preponderance of the evidence.
Where did you find a preponderance of evidence?
It's an administrative hearing.
So it's civil proceeding?
Civil proceedings have different standards. Well, what my objection to your route, that's. Okay. But with respect to the exhibits, I would like to indicate, on Exhibit I, for example, that that is not a complete document.
Well, what's incomplete about it?
There were 4 charges, and it only shows 3.
The-
Exhibit I, Exhibit I.
Which page is incomplete of?
I'm sorry, Exhibit J, I got the wrong.
I never introduced Exhibit J because I never wanted to get into this whole, I decided last time we were here, I never wanted to get into this discussion about whether or not J was admissible or not, so I didn't offer it into evidence. And I'm not going to move it into evidence.
So J is not gonna be entered into the evidence?
No.
It's not offered. So right now you have to decide whether or not you're going to find that is, that the exhibits that the town has offered as evidence meet the standards of admissibility, which would be that they're true documents. You've got a certification on Exhibit I from DEM, these are true and exact copies of what their records have for this incident.
Correct. My records from the hearing are that H&I were offered first, they were accepted for ID. So I've asked for those to be moved to be accepted as full exhibits. Exhibits A, B, and C, which were offered next, were accepted as full exhibits. Exhibit D was objected to by Attorney Tobin. I'll withdraw D. I won't ask to have that moved in as full. And exhibits E, F, and G, there was no objection to those documents by Mr. Tobin. So just, I believe they were accepted as full exhibits.
They were not.
Well, okay, then I will move them as full exhibits as well.
Can we just have one moment? Again, Exhibit E, I would object to because it is not relevant to this case at all. There was a complaint that there were unhealthy dog, conditions of the dog enclosure. That is not part of this particular proceeding. I'm not sure what, if anything, it has to do with the matter that's before you.
But doesn't part of the exhibit have an ad in the newspaper selling dogs?
Which one we're talking about,
Right.
Exhibit E.
This is E, it's part of E. It says E, if I read correctly. I don't know how to do it. Because it has the dogs to say. go on and say that the top page is not being considered because that's the report, but it continues on with advertising in the newspaper.
And the narrative, but and the narrative that goes with it.
Yeah, but now, what is it that you're saying about Exhibit E that you don't want us to consider? Is that what you said? Yes.
I'm sorry? Are you talking to me or Brian?
Yeah, no, to you.
I didn't.
All right, Exhibit E, what is it you don't want us to consider? Is that what you said?
What I don't want you to consider. I think it's inappropriate. It's an incident report. There was no conviction with regard to anything except that one charge that DEM brought in the district court. And therefore,
The part on DEM's part where it says that the health certificate documents that you gave them were not right?
you have a document, an Exhibit E, that has a statement from a witness who's not here to be examined. And you have an ad in the newspaper that, I'm not sure what effect that has here, but it's part of the same exhibit.
So are E, F, and G, I don't have these exhibits.
E, F, and G are historic police reports. E is from 2012, F is from 2011,
Oh, okay.
and G is from 2016. These are moved in merely to support the penalty that was assessed in this case of the maximum of $500. I think it shows a history of non-compliance with the town's regulations, and I think it supports the magnitude of the penalty that was imposed.
Okay, so they're offered to show a pattern of behavior?
They are.
Okay, so these are not offered for the content of the
Okay,
documents.
okay.
They are offered simply for the fact that there were 3 of them, she was cited repeatedly for violations. So you can't consider what the reports say, just that they were made.
All of the reports?
Yeah,
E, F, and G.
and that's,
The three.
yeah. Now, you could, you can say, you know what, these are so prejudicial to our judgment, what these contain, that we should not consider them, because they contain all sorts of statements that we think will sway our decision and not give the appellant a fair shot. So you could have, you could say, you know what, we're not gonna let these in, they're too prejudicial. So,
Okay, so say if we do that, now, so Mr. Bowden's appealing us using that, then to weigh our decision, what would we use?
well, you could have, that's up to Brian. It's his case to present to you.
Or could we say that we are based on the reputation of our animal control officer, and which she's been in front of this board many times,
Right.
that we have faith in her judgment in filing this
And
report, and we want to sue them.
she can testify that this happened.
Right.
Oh, she can testify to
Yeah.
these incidents and these exhibits.
Right,
Okay.
We can, as a board, find her reputable as a witness,
right.
and we can take her testimony.
Yeah, I don't think we should allow these, because they are, there are a lot of statements in here that are prejudicial, that could be considered by you for a purpose other than just supporting the penalty. So it's my recommendation that you not allow these disclosed because they're.
Okay, Brian, do you have anything else? I'm sure you do, but, I mean,
So just so I'm clear, I withdrew D,
Yeah,
and your recommendation is as to E, F, and G.
yeah.
Correct. Okay.
But A, B, and C are in. And, do you have that?
This is the transfer. That's what was marked. I don't know what it's going to do. Unless there was another hearing, I don't know.
No, we can leave you out of it.
If you
you're in.
Yeah, that came, maybe it was this came. Okay, yep.
Page 17 of the transcript says towns exhibits A, B, and C marked in full.
Yeah. Okay, so H and I are still out there. And H and I are the DEM.
No, H is our animal control officer's report, Officer McComb's report. She testified extensively last time she was here about her report. She's here to be cross-examined, and Mr. Tobin desires to do so. I don't think there's any reason why that report should not come in as full. If he has any problems with anything that's in that report, he has the opportunity to cross-examine Officer McComb. Insofar as Exhibit I is concerned, they're certified documents under statute, and according to the Administrative Procedures Act, the Superior Court rules insofar as hearsay goes are relaxed in these administrative hearings, and you're entitled to consider evidence that may not be admissible under the rules of evidence if it is of a type commonly relied upon by reasonably prudent men and women in the conduct of their affairs. That's Rhode Island General Law 42-35-10A. And I would argue that police reports from state officers are the kinds of documents that are reasonably relied upon by people such as yourselves in the performance of your duties as a zoning board.
I don't disagree.
All right, so then, if you are all in agreement with that, I can come in and, or we can consider.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
We're just considering the admission of Exhibit I, which is the DEM reports that are certified, not the ones that have the missing reference.
Okay.
So since they are certified, I would recommend that you admit them in full.
Okay. Do I have a motion to admit Exhibit I in full?
And you've got to admit,
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C are in. H is the report of Officer Lacombe, who has testified as to that report, which,
So since Officer LaCombe is here, we can also admit A, so she can be cross-examined.
she's already testified to it.
But at this time here, she's a cross-examined.
Right.
So I should be able to, so we should be able to do H and I. A, B, C, H, and I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does the board have any further discussion on this? Do I have a motion to submit these exhibits?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, where are we at next? Mr. Tobin, do you have anything else?
Oh, I have plenty, but that's his case at this stage.
Yeah, I rest.
The first thing I'd like to do is introduce a copy of my letter of appeal. I asked that be marked as a full exhibit. It's responding to the notice of violation. That was the town's exhibit number 1, dated 8/18/17.
I have no objection to it being an exhibit that
Exhibit number 1?
that Attorney Tobin has filed an appeal insofar as any facts alleged therein or other materials. You know, it's a pleading.
I'd like to call Officer Lacombe, please.
Microphones, please. We can't hear you.
Good, I'm gonna ask you to have your microphone come more towards you. Thank you, Mr. I ask you to raise your right hand, give your full name and address.
Carolyn Lacombe, 1075 Main Street, Coventry RI, 287.
You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Officer Lacombe, what is your position with the town?
Animal control supervisor.
Do you hold any other positions with the town of Coventry?
No, sir, I don't.
How long have you been so employed?
19 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, sure is.
Now, when was the last time you were on the property?
I believe May 24th, 2017.
May of 2017.
Yes, sir. The day this incident occurred.
And you haven't been back to the property at all since that time?
No, sir.
Okay. Prior to that date, when were you on the property to observe anything that might be in violation of the town's ordinances?
I don't have an exact date of when I was on the property. I've been on the property several times, but I couldn't give you exact dates.
Okay. With respect to, the reason I'm bringing up dates is because the charge, the notice of violation, wasn't a $500 fine. It was a $500 a day fine. And so I want to try to make sure what dates are being included and what is not being included.
You want to find out what the date the fine starts.
I'm sorry?
We're trying to find out what day does the fine start.
And the fines, by the way, are up to $500. They're not $500. The town assessed a $500 fine in its notice of violation, but that doesn't mean that that's your prerogative whether to accept that or change it.
500 a day for as long as they're in violation.
Yes.
I will put an end to this right now. Section E, page 2 of the notice of violation says you are ordered to pay a monetary fine of $500 to the town of Coventry. If I had intended to make it a $500 a day fine, I would have said $500 a day, and I would have specified a period of time. I assessed one $500 fine.
That's what I'm trying to do. Did you understand it that way, Mr. Tilden?
I understand he assessed a $500 fine. It's not limited to $500 overall. If that's the maximum that this board will consider, then I'll withdraw my objection with respect to that issue. As long as that's the maximum. I don't want to be looking at something that says, well, she had this for another 20 days and therefore it's a $10,000 fine.
The ordinance authorizes a maximum of $500 per day, but it wasn't assessed that way in the notice of violation. I would completely agree with counsel that it doesn't say anything more than 1 day. And if I was in his position and somebody handed me a vague notice of violation that couldn't tell me how to calculate how much of a fine was being assessed, I would object to that too. But it very clearly says you are ordered to pay a fine of $500. Not $500 a day, not $500 a week, $500.
So we can stipulate that the fine is $500.
A maximum fine,
Right,
if any.
okay. We're all set on that fact.
Okay, we can stipulate that. Now, but I still have to get into some of these incidents because there's a question of what Officer Lacombe knows.
Well, wait a minute. You just said that if he's saying all he's going to charge her is $500, you're going to drop this whole thing.
No.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that?
No.
Oh, God, all right. What he said he was going to
I'm trying to get to the short understanding.
I understand.
Okay.
And I'll I'll try to keep a lot of my statements as brief as I can. When you last went to the property, did you come on the property?
Yes, sir, I did.
And was there any discussion between you and the homeowner with respect to your being here?
No, sir, there was not.
Okay, where did you go on that property?
In the driveway, I stepped out of the vehicle and started to speak to the DEM officers on scene.
You gotta speak into the mic so everybody can hear you clearly.
Stepped out of my vehicle and spoke to the DEM officers that were on scene.
Okay, and is it a fair statement to say that they took over the matter from that point on, as far as inspecting the property?
I was not allowed in the property.
Okay, is it a fair statement to say that they took over the investigation at that particular point?
No, I took it as a joint investigation at that point.
Okay, but you didn't see anything specific on the property at that particular time, is that fair statement?
I don't know what you mean by what I see
Okay.
specifically. Did I see any animals on the property?
Did you go on the property and see the animals there?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. And with respect to any earlier occasions, on how many earlier occasions were you on the property to see whether or not the homeowner was in compliance with the town's ordinances?
In the last 19 years?
Well, you brought up the dates, so yeah, sure.
Could only give you a guess. I have no idea the exact number of times I've been to 1204 Town Farm Road.
And some of the things range from dog bite, correct?
Yes, it was a dog bite.
But that wasn't a violation of anything to do with the kennel license or a kennel, correct?
No, it was a violation of the rabies protocol.
Did you charge him?
I don't recall, I don't have that case in front of me.
Isn't it a fair statement to say you didn't charge him?
I know Mrs. LeVake wasn't charged. If someone was charged, it would have been Mr. LeVake, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the case. If you have the case, I can look at it and jog my memory.
I'll determine whether I have to refresh your recollection.
Okay.
All right. With respect to this particular matter in front of this board today, is it a fair statement to say that you've taken every single occasion that you've had with respect to the defendant's property, going all the way back to 2007, to bring before this board?
I'm confused in your question.
You have to rephrase that.
Okay, I'll rephrase.
Thank you.
You presented a number of incident reports, correct?
Objection.
What's the objection?
Officer Lacombe isn't running this case. The town put the case together. The zoning planning department put the case together.
You can rephrase your question, Mr. Chairman.
I'll withdraw the question. How many incidents reports, to your recollection, have you been involved with at 1204 Town Farm Road?
I believe I just said I cannot give you an exact number.
Okay. I have nothing further to this witness.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions for redirect. Officer Lacombe, you were asked whether or not you had had any discussions with the homeowner when you were at the property, I believe on May 24th, 2017. Why didn't you have any discussions with the homeowner on that date?
Because the DEM officer that was on scene came out and said that Ms. LeVake agreed to cooperate if I would leave the property.
And you respected the DEM officer's request?
Yes, sir, I did.
So the request not to enter the property actually came from DEM?
Correct.
You also referred to it as a joint investigation. Can you explain why you felt it was a joint investigation?
Because I reached out to DEM. I knew that if I went to the property on that date, Mrs. LeVake would recognize who I was. They used one of their officers to go in undercover. Then DEM gave us custody of the animals to take care of. I was in constant communication with DEM Prosecution Officer Oberon. Also, I was in contact with Marisa Coates throughout the investigation from May 18th till the conclusion of the investigation.
Okay. And again, you testified to this last time, but just to be clear, DEM removed how many animals from the residence?
10 dogs.
And what did they do with those animals after they took them from the residence?
Objection. She has that personal knowledge.
She may have personal knowledge. Do you have personal knowledge of that?
Yes, I did.
You can answer the question.
I met DEM Officer Oberon, Marisa Coates, and another DEM officer at the intersection of 117 and Maple Valley Road and took custody of the 10 dogs.
This was on the same day, on May 24th, 2017?
Yes, sir, it was.
Who took the custody of the 10 dogs?
I did, sir.
So DEM turned them over to you?
Yes, sir. They don't have any place to house them.
Thank you.
And do you know what happened to those animals?
After a plea agreement was made, DEM gave Coventry, the town of Coventry, possession of the animals, and all 10 dogs were adopted out.
Were they ever claimed by the LeVakes?
No,
Were they ever claimed by anyone claiming to be the owners of the animals?
no.
Thank you.
Any board members have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask her a question?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Okay, so May 24th, 2017, what caused you?
We can't hear you.
On May 24th, 2017, what caused you to respond to 360 Town Farm Road?
To 1204 Town Farm Road?
Yeah, 1204, I'm looking at it.
Was that 360 you said?
No.
That's my house.
1204. Sorry.
I observed Ms. LeVake with puppies at a business in Westerly. And I contacted DEM.
Did you actually go to the business in Westerly?
Yes, I did.
And you saw her buying puppies there?
Yeah, I have pictures. I think they're in the packet that I gave you.
Okay. And so when did you see her in Westerly with puppies?
The 24th.
May 24th? The same day?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Actually, originally I saw her at the truck stop in Coventry while I was getting gas, while I was off duty.
On the same day?
Same day.
What time of day?
8:45, 7:30, between 7:30 and 8:45 in the morning.
And then you followed her down to Westerly?
Yes, I knew from the Facebook post where she was most likely going. I contacted the Westerly Animal Control Officer, spoke to him, and observed the animals being taken out of her vehicle and brought into the grooming salon.
Okay, and did you stay there the whole time?
No, I left about a half hour later after I contacted Marisa Coates.
And so what did you do after you left the grooming salon?
I went to the Westerly Animal Control to speak to the animal control officer there. And then I responded back to the pound.
To your pound?
To Coventry.
In Coventry. So you saw her in Westerly at a grooming salon at what time of day?
About 8:30, maybe approximately 8:30.
Okay, would you remember the name of the grooming salon?
Grooming with Linda.
Okay. And so you went up to Coventry. What time did you arrive back at the pound in Coventry?
Approximately 8:30, 9 o'clock maybe.
But you were down at the,
Oh, maybe a little bit after. I don't have the exact times. I'm just guessing. If I followed her down there, then I went to Westerly, followed along that.
what truck, did you see her at the truck stop in West Greenwich?
Yes.
On 102? Okay. And so then you went to Coventry. Did you call DEM at some point to tell them?
Yes, on my way down to Westerly, I contacted Marisa Coates by cell phone.
And did you have reason to believe that DEM responded to the grooming salon where she was having the puppies groomed?
DEM did respond, but she had left by then.
Okay. And And then what happened after you got to the town in Coventry?
Marisa Coates contacted me that she was contacting Officer Ogren, and explained to me they were trying to find somebody to go to the house and make a purchase. They asked me to contact Miss LeVake by my cell phone because I was supposed to meet her that afternoon and make it later on in the day. I did that. She said no problem. She'd meet me later on in the day, and that's when DEM went there.
What time did you contact Miss LeVake? What time of day was that?
Around noon, I believe.
Okay.
It was after DEM had left the room with Linda's.
Okay, and then at 12, what time did you go to 12:04 town hall?
It was in the afternoon. I want to say around 3 o'clock.
Okay, and what made you go there at that time?
DEM had contacted us.
Okay. And you didn't observe anything at 12:04 Town Farm Road? Did you observe DEM vehicles there?
Yes, for DEM vehicles
Okay.
on site.
And did you observe DEM personnel there?
Yes.
And did you observe Mrs. LeVake there?
No.
Okay. Did you observe anybody else there?
No.
Did you talk to anybody there?
I talked to the DEM officers.
Okay. And so based upon your conversation with DEM officers there, you then went to Maple Rock, was,
The corner of Maple Road 117 is all.
okay.
Area.
And that's when you picked up the 10 puppies?
Correct.
Did you see the 10 puppies at the truck stop?
No, I just saw Miss LeVake because she was cleaning the car. So I wasn't sure if she was going to pick up puppies or if she was cleaning for puppies, which made me think that these were the puppies she was probably getting in that day.
So she didn't have puppies at the truck
I
stop?
couldn't see, I was pumping gas and I just so happened to look over and see her.
When you got to Westerly, what did you observe her doing?
Taking crates of dogs out of her truck and bringing them into the business along with another woman.
So it's safe to say that when she was at the truck stop, there were puppies in the vehicle
Yes.
at that time, and then you observed her removing the puppies from the vehicle once she got to Westerly.
Correct.
And this was on the basis that you saw a Facebook ad that she was going to be moving these puppies, that's why you saw her? That's what sparked your interest in the situation?
The interest was what originally started, back May 17th, was my coworker sent me an email that somebody was selling dogs on Craigslist, and she recognized the phone number, and she said the person's name was Sandy. She believed it was Miss LeVake selling puppies.
How many animals did you see her remove from the car in Westerly?
There's some were in crates, so I couldn't tell how many.
If there could have been more than one in
I
a
could
crate.
definitely see three appeared to be golden retriever mixes, because she had to carry those. Some other dogs were in crates.
Okay.
So the dogs that you got at Maple Valley, there's too many Maple Roads in Valley. Maple Valley Road, were they golden retriever mixes as well?
Three were.
Okay.
Do you believe them to be the same 3 dogs you saw that morning?
I did.
Do you have any doubts that those 10 dogs that you received came from Ms. LeVake's property?
I don't. I believe they did.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
I believe they were the same dogs.
But you believe all 10, do you have any reason not to believe all of the 10 dogs came from the same property?
Do you have any reason not to believe?
Yeah, do you-
I believe they were all.
You believe, okay. And why do you believe that? Is it from DEM?
From the Facebook post, from speaking with DEM, from,
And DEM stated they removed all 10 dogs from the property, these are the dogs.
correct.
Just one more question if I could. In all of the time that you've been dealing with 1204 Town Farm, what, if any, dealings did you have with Mr. LeVake?
With Mr. LeVake,